Hello, welcome back to my channel, and yes, I know it's been such a long time. Some of you may have seen that I've deleted my videos, and that's because I generally wasn't happy with them. So I've been taking the time to try and get a bit more confident, try and get a bit better behind the camera, and yeah, I basically just want to start again. I've kind of not rebranded because I didn't have much of a brand to begin with, but you might see that I've also changed the name that I write under. So yeah, this year is all about sort of changing things up and starting again and trying to do things to the highest quality that I can. So that's why I have no more videos on my channel, where they've all been deleted. Well, not deleted, they've been privated because I didn't have it in me to delete the videos. But yeah, that's why they've all been made private. I'm starting again, starting fresh, and welcome to today's video. And today we are talking about this book, Phantasma by Kalylie Smith. Now, I deleted TikTok off of my phone a little while ago now, I think back in sort of November time, just because I was using it too much, and it was, I think I was getting a bit addicted to it. Well, I know I was getting a bit addicted to short form content. So since then I've also deleted Instagram and Facebook and even disabled YouTube, because I'm really just trying to have 2025 being as much off the internet as I can. So when I make TikToks, I will be uploading them through my PC. I won't be re-downloading TikTok. But anyway, diversion. I'm not on TikTok, so I didn't know about this book, and I've heard that it was quite a popular book on TikTok and lots of people were talking about it. But the way I found this book was a friend of mine had a spare ticket for an author signing in Edinburgh, and she asked me if I wanted to go along. So of course I said yes. I've never been to an author signing before. So I bought the book and I read the first few chapters, but I was also trying to finish Onyx Storm, Iron Flame and Onyx Storm at the time. So I didn't get the book finished before I went to the signing, but that didn't really matter. And yeah, the signing was amazing. It was so much fun. Again, like I said, I've never been to one before, and I found it quite inspiring. I'm like, oh, that's what I would love to be able to do. Like, I'd love to be able to publish a book and go to a signing. But also hearing from Kalylie Smith was just amazing, and her thought processes and, you know, the Q&As. It was just so much fun, and Kalylie was so lovely. And oh, let me show you the signature actually. There we go. It was just so good. I had a really fun evening. I had a really fun evening. After reading the first few chapters and then going to the signing and hearing her talking about it, I had such high hopes for the book. Just the way she spoke about it and the things that inspired it and what she had her degree in, it was just so interesting to hear, and I thought that was just going to be like, yes, this is going to be the next book for me. It's going to be amazing. I'm so excited. But I then finished the book, and unfortunately it didn't quite live up to my expectations. Now, a little disclaimer before I get into the bulk of my review. These are just my thoughts and opinions. I am not saying that if you enjoyed this book, you are wrong for doing so. It's just how I feel towards it. And yeah, please don't be offended if I say things that you don't agree with. Again, I'm not trying to insult anyone who loved this book. Let's get into the spoiler-free review. Phantasma takes place in New Orleans, and I don't know exactly what time frame it is, but it's very Gothic, Victorian-esque sort of vibes, which is a kind of not favourite of mine, but I do really like that sort of setting. Our main character is Ophelia Grimm, who wakes up one morning to find her mother has passed away, and they come from a long line of necromancers. Upon seeing her mother dead, she has to basically step into the role of becoming the next necromancer of the Grimm family. Not long after the death of her mother, it is discovered that her mother had gotten into some debts with the bank, and Genevieve, her sister, knew about it, which of course is not good for Ophelia, as she could lose her home. She and her sister have a fight. Genevieve disappears, and after finding a letter, Ophelia discovers that Genevieve has gone to take part in Phantasma, which is a competition run by demons, and you basically go through different challenges. Each one is after the circles of hell, 9 circles of hell, and the winner gets a wish from a big powerful demon, basically. Finding out that Ophelia has taken part or signed up for this competition, Ophelia follows her in the hopes of finding her and convincing her to come home. But of course, nothing goes smoothly, and she meets Blackwell, who is a phantom. I will get into what the creatures are, the paranormal activities in this story in a minute, and the magic system, but she meets Blackwell, meets Adele, and of course there are feelings starting to be felt, and the main rule of Phantasma is you cannot fall in love. So that's pretty much the summary of the book. There's this competition, there's a mystery, there's a forbidden romance element, and of course she's trying to find her sister, and it creates for a good, fun, exciting read. So let's divulge deeper into some of the elements that I liked and some of the elements that I didn't like, and I'm going to try and keep this as spoiler-free as possible. I'm going to start with something I touched on briefly at the beginning, and that is the world building. I don't think it's given an exact time period, I could be wrong, but like I said at the beginning, it's very Gothic, very Victorian-esque, New Orleans, haunted mansion. It's just amazing. It was one of the main things or main elements about this story that I really enjoyed, was the setting and the world building, and the way that Kalylie Smith writes. I found it so easy to imagine the setting, this beautiful Gothic mansion with the candelabras and the blood and the gore and the ghosts and the darkness. It was just so easily to envision, and it felt as though I was there. I felt the fear the character felt, and it was just very enchanting, because I do kind of like witchy Gothic Victorian vibes, like the fashion, like the corsets and all the ruffles and the dark staircases and rooms and big 4-poster beds. That was all so much fun. If anyone has any other recommendations of stories with that kind of setting, please comment them down below, because I'm really looking to read more Gothic-y kind of books. And the Gothic element is definitely something Kalylie Smith really excelled at. Alongside the world building is something equally as important, and that is the magic systems. Of course, it's only important if it's a book with magic in it, which this one had. And I really loved the way that she introduced or explained, that's the better word I'm looking for, explained the different creatures and races in this story, and that is through this diagram, which I will now show you. Let me find it. Oh, don't bend the page. There we go. So just a little diagram there really helped make things clearer, basically, especially when you have so many creatures and so many levels of how powerful they are and everything like that. So yeah, that was super helpful. And also I really quite like paranormal creatures living in our world. That's another thing that I like in stories. So as soon as I saw that page, and I was like, ooh, there's going to be necromancers and demons and witches, that was another tick. And I was like, yeah, this is going to be so much fun. This book definitely focused more on the necromancy, the demons, and the types of ghosts and ghouls, more than some of the other creatures that she's mentioned in that list. But though this is a standalone book in and of itself, she's writing more books in this world. So the next book coming out in like a month, I think, Enchantra, is going to be Genevieve's story. So I'm hoping that in that book she will expand more on the different races and different types of magic. But this particular story focused, again, like I've said, on demons, ghouls, ghosts, phantoms, necromancy, and just death, basically. The magic system was simple and easy to follow. It really added more intensity to the world, especially in the haunted house. Again, I love that sort of vibes, so it was something I really enjoyed. The haunts and all the ghostly figures were super fun. The mysteries and the darkness surrounding it was great too. There was one part of the magic system I didn't quite like, and that was Ophelia. Not like her magic in and of itself, but when she kind of discovered this strange other part of her magic. I don't know if this is a personal preference, but I like the time to be taken to fully, like if a character has magic, I like the time to be taken to fully develop it and grow it. Whereas as soon as she kind of discovered this new magic, after a few lessons from Blackwell, she was kind of able to wield it very confidently in a very short amount of time. And again, this is a personal preference thing. I'm not saying that it's necessarily bad, but for me, I would have lichen. That's not, their lichens are not in this book. For me, I would have liked to have more time spent really developing her magic more, instead of her making it pretty much good at it straight away. Kalylie Smith's writing style is just fabulous. I think she's a very strong writer. I was able to so clearly envision and picture everything that was happening. I could feel the characters' emotions. I felt scared in the scenes that I was meant to be scared in, and nervous in the scenes I was meant to be nervous in. So I definitely have no problems with the writing. I think she is a great writer. The plot itself was so much fun, and I am definitely a plot-focused reader, I would say. I do find myself wanting an exciting plot kind of over everything else. So when she was going into all the trials, that was my favourite parts. The only thing I wished, and I'm going to talk about this later on in the video, is I wish more time was spent in the trials. The book was fast-paced. I was reading it quite quickly, trying to get to the end, because I definitely want to find out what happened. The trials were all different and unique enough for the setting of the house not to be stale, because obviously, or I say obviously as if you've read it, I mean you might have read it, but we were in the house for pretty much the whole book. So I think when it's 400 odd pages, you run into the problem of not making being in the same place feel stale or stagnant. And the trials definitely helped break that up and make it feel a bit more dynamic, I guess. And the trials were different enough from each other as well that it didn't become too repetitive. So I thoroughly enjoyed that element. And also the time spent in the house, it wasn't just her hanging around. She had another goal in that setting, basically to try and help Blackwell. Again, we're going to talk about Blackwell and Ophelia a bit later on in the video. But because she had a goal of helping him find the clues to his escape, basically, in the house, it meant that not only did we have the excitement of the trials to read, we also, when she came back to the house, she also had another mystery to try and figure out. So she wasn't just at the house hanging around doing nothing, waiting for the next trial. There were two sides of the story that were both exciting. Ophelia was a great character to read from. She had her ups and downs, and I've said this quite a few times already, I'll get into that later, but she was a very interesting character to read from. Ophelia had OCD, which it came from a very personal place from the author. She suffers with it, and she talked about it during the meet, and also has a chapter at the back dedicated to her own OCD struggles and why she wrote it into the story. So I'm not going to talk too much about it, because I feel like that's something that you need to read and look at yourself. But it was great to see that sort of mental health representation, or the OCD representation in the story, and see how the character navigated these trials whilst having it. So yeah, that was something that was really great to see. I've talked now about all the elements of this story that I really enjoyed, and overall if I were to rate this story based on my enjoyment as reading it, as I was reading it, then it would be 5 stars. It did grip me. I was really interested to find out what happened. I enjoyed following the characters. I loved the settings. Unfortunately, though, I couldn't give it 5 stars, and I will explain why. Also, if the light has changed, I am filming this at a very awkward time. I should have done this a few hours earlier. The sun is setting. It's 5:15. It's a few shades darker outside now than it was when I began filming. So yeah, this is just going to get progressively darker and darker and darker as the video goes out. I'm very sorry for that. I will do better tomorrow when I film another video. If I film another video, I'll do better. Maybe. Anyway, let's move on to the more negative thoughts I have for this book and why it is a 3-star read and not a 5-star read. Number 1, I'm going to talk about Ophelia and Blackwell's relationship. Now, I liked Blackwell as a love interest. He was fine. He was your average love interest, I'm going to say. I am very pleased with the amount of explicit consent that was given throughout the whole story. Every moment there was a spicy encounter, there was always clear consent given. And that is something I definitely, and I know a lot of people definitely appreciate in these books. There should always be clear consent. There should always be, yes, I want this to happen, basically, in some form or another. So that is good. I liked that part. And like I said, Blackwell, he was fine. He wasn't toxic, which I know there are a lot of toxic love interests out there. He was just fine. They had good enough chemistry with each other. The main issue I had, though, was kind of Ophelia. She was very... One moment she'd be telling him to go away, and then the next she'd be like, come back, and then it'll be like, no, I never want to touch you or see you again, and then literally the next chapter they'll be ripping off each other's clothes. I didn't quite like that as much, especially as Ophelia was sometimes quite rude about it. She wasn't always the nicest, and I guess I get it, because technically they're not meant to be falling in love. It's only, you know, they haven't got along together. She's trying to save her feelings, but also the arguments they got into were kind of annoying. And talking about falling in love, the Instalove was strong in this one, I'm afraid. This book took place, or at least from the moment they met to the end of the book, took place over 7 days. And I don't want to spoil the ending for you, though I did guess I don't know if it was meant to be a twist, but I did guess it. But the ending just didn't work for me, and that's because the couple had only been in love for 7 days. The claims and the things happening at the end were so much for these two people. I don't know if that's because I am a slow burn girly. I do want my relationships and stories to really progress and develop over a long time. Or whether it's just an all-round, 7 days is too short to be declaring love for each other and tying people to each other, tying yourselves to another being for eternity, and doing all these epic gestures of love for someone after 7 days. It just wasn't right for me. So I did not enjoy that element very much. I kept saying to myself as I was reading and she was falling deeper for him, I was like, girl, you've known this guy for 48 hours. You've known this guy for 4 days. It just didn't work. And unfortunately, another problem I had with their relationship was the spice scenes themselves. Now, I like spice in my books. I am not against it at all. However, the problem I do have with spice is when it's prioritized over the storytelling. And like I said earlier in the video, I like the plot the most when I read a book. I want to follow an exciting story and plot. And the trials were that. They were so exciting and fun to read. They were my favourite parts of the stories. And they sometimes felt like they were being kind of pushed aside for the spice. Like some of the trials, they were so creative as well, but they felt like they were just over so quickly and it was in such a rush to get back to the spice. And I wish more chapters had been spent taking longer in the trials and having Ophelia try and figure it out and being in slightly more perilous situations, because it never truly felt like she was in danger in any of these trials. You knew she was going to win, which I guess was kind of the point, because she had Blackwell, who she made the deal with, who was helping her. But the stakes didn't feel as high in the trials, because you just knew they would be over again by the end of the chapter. She was only in most of them for like one chapter at a time. So I wish more words have been spent making these trials longer, making them more dangerous, than having her quickly in and out the trial like that, only to get back into Blackwell's bed basically straight after. So that's my main issue with this story, and why it did go down those stars, is because I feel like the romance and the spice was prioritized over the storytelling, and the actual trials over Phantasma itself, and also Instalove. I can't do Instalove. I hate Instalove. I'm sorry. So yeah, Blackwell and Ophelia, they were fine together, but I did not find their relationship as fun, enchanting and believable as some other relationships in stories that I've read. And again, talking about the spice taking priority, I think the whole book, not the whole book, but specifically the last quarter of the book felt very rushed. And again, because so much time had been taken on spice scenes, I don't think, or so much words, I guess, I don't know if there was a word allowance, but so much time had been taken on these spice scenes that the ending got wrapped up really, really quick. And again, I said I predicted the twist at the end, so I wasn't surprised about that. But like, it just didn't work for me. I'm really sorry to anyone who liked this book. And I can't explain it how I want to explain it, because without telling you what happened, and this is a spoiler-free review, but the ending just didn't work because it was all so rushed. There was the Instalove. They've only been in love for 7 days. And then at the end, and it all happens so fast, and it's kind of a little bit confusing, I'm not going to lie. And then they also find out some Blackwell's story, and you're like, yeah, okay, I guess that makes sense. It's not really the big climactic ending I was looking for. Oh, yay, this is happening now, and there are vows and oaths and curses happening, and it just was rushed. It was rushed. And then the epilogue sets up Enchantra, which I will be reading despite my ranting now, but the epilogue sets up Enchantra, and okay, I'm going to do a small spoiler. Just turn off if you don't want to spoil it, or like skip to somewhere else. I'm not clever enough to put in a timestamp. Yeah, small spoiler. Oh my gosh, Chloe. Small spoiler, except it's not, because it's the ending of the book. But she breaks his curse basically, and to do so she has to give her life to him. I don't know how it fully works. Again, I said I was confused, but all I know is that they're going to now be together for an eternity, and the ending is them about to live happily ever after in her manor. And I can't help but think, why you're tying yourself to this man for an eternity because you fell in love with him in 7 days. It's only been 7 days. That's crazy, and I don't like it. I'm sorry, I don't like it. Anyway, end of spoiler, you can come back now. So that was my big gripe with this book, and that is the main thing. I say that, there are a few things. Those are the main things that got this book down from 5 to 3 stars, because Instalove, rushed ending, and spice was prioritised over good storytelling. And unfortunately, I think that's a problem in a lot of romantasy books now. I'm going to say it. I am saying it. I've read a few books where it's just, I've even read them, or like, I've read some. I've also seen reviews of others where it definitely feels like almost all romantasy books are the same, and the romance, not even the romance, the spice is just prioritised over the storytelling. Like, it's like the authors have written the spice scenes first and then written the whole story to fit around the spice. Not saying that's what happened here in Phantasma, because again, The quality of writing is actually really good. It's just the content is not for me. But yeah, I'm going to make another video at some point about romantasy and the spice kind of obsession now. But yeah, that's another video and discussion for another day. Anyway, I've been ranting for too long. I hope this review has been coherent. I've really enjoyed making it. I've enjoyed having my little rant at the camera. And I can't help but feel really kind of not upset, that's too dramatic, but I am disappointed with this book. I was expecting such great things, especially as, you know, I'd met the author and she'd talked about the stories, the inspirations, her OCD struggles. I was really expecting this to be a 5 out of 5, my read of the year, the book of the year. And unfortunately, every time that Ophelia sent Blackwell away again and then called him back 2 pages later to have some spicy time, I thought, no, not again. Please just have another trial. Please spend longer in the trials. So yeah, that was my review of Phantasma. I hope you enjoyed it. If you agree or disagree or want to have a little chat in the comments, please leave some below. Let me know if I'm wrong about anything, because I'm always here for some constructive criticism. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed it. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in another video very soon. Bye!